Hey everyone, I'm Jamie Davidson with AMZ Insiders. A little bit about myself and my two fellow co-founders, Brad and Jason. We sold over $75 million on Amazon last year. We're on pace to sell over $100 million this year. And today I want to talk a little bit about one of probably the most common and most frequently asked questions we get about selling on Amazon. And that is, how do you get started to pick a product to sell on Amazon? And it's a great question because it's so important, right? So if you can make a lot of mistakes on Amazon, but if you pick the wrong product, it's gonna make everything that much more difficult. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about how we go about doing it. If you stay on for this entire video here, at the end, I'm gonna actually share with you a free workshop where we actually go much more in depth and actually show you on the screen and how we pick products and select products. But I want to give you a few of the key tips around how we think about selling on Amazon, because even though we have a large Amazon business, we too are launching new products all the time, and it's really not that much different. Even with a large established business, whether you're brand new to Amazon or a few months in, or you've been selling for 7 years like we have been, every time you launch a new product, it's brand new, and every time you pick a product, it's something new, right? So it doesn't matter. The market doesn't care. It doesn't matter who the seller is. It matters. It wants to see the product, the quality of the product. The consumer wants a good quality product. So when you're thinking about getting started selling on Amazon by selecting a product, there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. One is that there's endless things you can potentially sell on Amazon. There's endless opportunities. There's so much growth in e-commerce that there, as of today, and it will continue to be huge opportunities to sell on Amazon. And so you should have a positive mindset about the opportunity, that it's not oversaturated, everything else. There's plenty of opportunities because e-commerce is still in the very early stages. So there's still an incredibly long ways to go. Now with that in mind, there are categories and there's certain products that have been sold on Amazon longer. They're going to be more difficult. And what some people don't quite understand about selling on Amazon in terms of picking a product is that the more competitive a product is, the more costly it's actually going to be to sell in that category. And what I mean by costly is when you launch on Amazon, and we go through an entire strategy of actually how we launch our products, but as you think up front about picking a product, if it's very competitive, that product, one of the things you're going to have to do typically is give your product away to some extent, so people get, your product gets exposure, your product gets some kind of velocity because there's no sales history to it. And when you do that in a really competitive product, it's going to take a lot longer period of time because these other products are much more in this category, are much more established. And so if you keep that in mind up front, you can find categories, and this is what we teach our students and those that we work with, to find categories that are not as competitive. You want to find kind of a mid-level competitive category to begin with. So that's one thing up front. The second thing is, on the other hand, we're not looking to invent a product. So what you don't want to do is go to your drawing board and come out with some crazy thing that no one has ever bought before, but you think is great, but there's no data whatsoever to show that there's actually a market for that product on Amazon. The only exception would be truly if you have something like, truly genius and you think it's, really great, but it's very unusual for that to happen. It may be the case that you have a modification or you have something of value of different, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's totally different. That absolutely is fantastic in terms of Amazon. But before we jump into kind of tools you use and how you actually go about it, the next thing I would really focus on is writing down a list of things that you actually have a passion for, you have an interest in, maybe your kids are interested in, or you've kind of seen, or it's kind of an interesting area, potentially trend of products and categories, that you come up with a really big list here to begin researching on Amazon. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do that, right? You can just do that and spend some time getting familiar. And the cool thing about Amazon is basically a search engine for finding products. Right? If you think about Google, people go into Amazon, they type in a search term and then see a list of products. So you can use that tool, the Amazon.com, to do your product research. And so again, literally you're brainstorming, you're being aware of surroundings, maybe you're talking to your friends. It's actually a lot of fun to think about all the possibilities of things that you could sell on Amazon and do well. And so that's kind of the first step. The second step is to analyze, actually with some data and actually see how things are selling on Amazon. So you think it's a great product. Does it? People actually buy the product on Amazon? And there's tools out there that allow you to actually see the actual monthly sales of every single item on Amazon. It's really, really awesome. All right, so you can use tools that. The tool we really love is you can go to amzproductspotter.com, right? So amzproductspotter.com, and that's one of the leading tools on it. It's really awesome. There's a web app. You know, it's not our software, but there's a web app where you can track every product on there. Or you can go to, there's a Chrome extension you download, and anywhere on Amazon, you just hit the button. It will show you the sales, how competitive that product is, everything, the listing quality, you know, how good are the photos, how good is the write-up, which all those things matter in terms of the ability for kind of how competitive that product is. So we leverage a couple tools. Again, I mentioned the amzproductspotter.com as one, and it's a way you can get a ton of data and get a quick read on how competitive it is, or you can spend a lot of time and look more in depth on that product. So those are, you know, two big things. One is, again, do some brainstorming, kind of some soft analysis of looking what's out there. And then the second thing is actually use a tool, do there. You know, naturally you're gonna look, as I mentioned, you don't wanna go in things that are too competitive because that's gonna be a problem. And then you also wanna do some analysis on how profitable this is. And this is a little more in depth. And as I mentioned earlier, I do have a free training around where we go actually into all this in more detail. But just, you know, really keep in mind that you want to stay away from things that are overly competitive. There's a few other things you want to stay away from too. You want to stay away from things that are too low of cost. So if the product is less than $10, typically there's not going to be enough profitability by the time you buy it and ship it to the US and everything for sale. So that's something you want to avoid. Often you want to avoid things like electrical products, sharp products, anything like in the marijuana category is a total no-go on Amazon. You know, things that are going to be restrictive, things that require FDA approval. So things like that you want to avoid, right? So you don't want to have things that are kind of controversial or have a lot of risk to them. But at the same time, there's so many great categories to sell on Amazon as long as you do some homework on understanding how competitive the category is, and most importantly, can you make money at it? And you know, the third thing we like to talk about too is making sure that you can add some value with your product. When you get that far, that you want to have, you know, something about that product that is not purely just a me too, purely a commodity, that you can add value. You know, once you look at things, that could be something as simple as a different color. It could be the packaging. It could be something that's a little bit unique that, you know, makes it distinct, a little bit different from the rest of the competition. And you know, with those things, you know, by taking these steps, and you know, in a category that's selling reasonably well, you know, you can really, really do well and, you know, sell a lot on Amazon. And all the other steps, there's more involved in terms of the marketing and the listing and making sure you get a good supplier. All these things we go over and handle, and happy to share with you. But if you get this first part right, the rest of the stuff goes so much easier, and your path to success is so much faster. So I hope you found this video helpful. If so, as I referenced earlier, we've got a great free training at the link below here. Be sure to click it. We actually go really specifically in depth how we actually research products. I show you that tool, the amzproductspotter.com tool, which is an awesome software. You should definitely check that out. And again, I walk through specifically how we use that, and as well as we go in more in depth too in terms of actually how we built our own $75 million business, and more importantly, how you can get underway. And if you're already selling on Amazon, we also show you some of our hacks and techniques, kind of insider techniques that we use to actually rank our product right on page 1. So again, be sure to check that out at the link below. So if you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and definitely subscribe. Every week we come out with great new content all about Amazon, all about helping you succeed with your own e-commerce business. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you have questions about how you pick a product, we would love to hear from you in the comments below. And if you've had success picking product, or if you have another technique or another idea, we're always open to new ideas as well too. Be sure to comment below as well.